Hey, what's up? I'm Jay Steele here in Disneyland with the voice of Mickey Mouse, Bret Iwan. Hiya, pals, it's me.
Hi, it's me, Bret Iwan.
So tell everyone how you even got the audition to become Mickey Mouse.
Oh man, this story, sometimes I have a hard time believing it.
I actually tell this story to people, even though it's not my own, of how you got the role of Mickey Mouse, because I find it so fascinating.
I oddly start this story by saying I was at home that day renovating my bathroom. And as a lot of people do, I'm okay admitting, you know, sometimes I talk to my dogs in high-pitched voices, right? It's like, oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, Lily Bell. And I thought,
slowly getting up to...
It kind of sounds like Mickey.
Hey everybody, it's me, Mickey Mouse.
And that day that I was at home by myself with my dog all day long, and I started talking to her as Mickey, I thought, oh man, whoever has that job is so lucky. Well, that night, and I kid you, I'm not making this up, I end the day, I open my laptop, I check my email, and this email pops up and it says, do you want to be the voice of Mickey Mouse? My first reaction was, oh my gosh, my friends must have stopped by on their lunch break, heard me talking to my dog as Mickey, and they've concocted this elaborate prank to make fun of me. Because now, I should say, I did a Mickey impression before this, right? Growing up, listened to the Fantasmic soundtrack nonstop and would do all the voices.
Some imagination, huh?
And I remember Mickey was one that kind of resonated with me. It sounded right. And then I went to school in Florida, so we had annual passes. We'd go to the parks, we'd walk in, and you go, oh boy! And everyone's like, ha ha ha, you sound like Mickey.
Yeah.
So my friends knew that I was a Disney fan, and they knew that I did a Mickey impression. So that's why I thought they're punking me, essentially.
Sure.
I go on to read the body of the email a little bit further down, and I find out, no, this is real. This is legit. It was outlining the audition process for an understudy to Wayne Allwine, explaining that at that time he had been the voice for 32 years. He was experiencing some health difficulties that were making it harder for him to get into the studio and to sustain the voice. And so they were looking for someone who wanted to audition to work with him and learn from him.
Here's my speaking voice. I go up a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and oh boy, there he is.
Of course, it's like, why not? That's amazing. Yeah. And again, not having any experience in entertainment, I thought, well, this will just be a cool story to say I auditioned to be the voice of Mickey Mouse. That's so cool.
Well, and how did you get that email in the first place?
Oh, so that's an important part. My friend and classmate, Jamie, works for Pixar. It was an internal email that went out to the Disney Animation Studios, the Disney Studios, and Pixar Animation Studios. And there's the traditional way of going about casting a role. And they had done that, and they weren't really getting what they were looking for. And the senior vice president of Disney Character Voices said, traditionally, the voice of Mickey has kind of come up through the studios anyway. You got Walt Disney.
We fooled him.
Jimmy McDonald.
How are you? This is Mickey.
Who was the second voice, who was the sound effects maestro at the studio. And then Wayne Allwine.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge!
Who started in the mailroom at the Disney Studios, eventually was working with Jimmy McDonald in the sound effects, and he was a sound editor.
This is Mickey. I'm Mickey too. You are? I thought so. Well, you are now. Okay.
So you just kind of had this tradition of coming up to the studio, so they thought, let's cast the net and see what happens. That email found me through my friend.
Let's go through the studio, and then it goes straight
and then it goes over to Kansas City, and
awesome.
So I got it, and I thought, again, I was like, this is going to be so cool to just say I tried this, right?
That sounds fun. Let's try it.
So I did. I took a few days. I practiced. It came with an MP3 with a lot of samplings that they wanted you to match. So I called in the hotline. I submitted my audition. I'm sure
just like a voicemail.
It was a number.
Okay.
I want to say it was like 1888 Mickey or something, but that might be too good to be true. It was
don't
a hotline.
Call that. It's been cast. It's done. Okay.
I don't think the number exists anymore. Yeah. But. I called a hotline. Hi, this is Bret Iwan. I'm a huge Mickey fan, and here's my audition. And I'm sure it was like a mile a minute. I can't believe. I'm sure most of it was.
Remember what you said? Were they like specific lines you had to go through? Or?
Yeah, they were. It's funny, on the drive down here, I was just going over it. They were lines from like Society Dog Show.
He's a mighty fine dog, sir, and he's smart too.
The Brave Little Tailor, The Three Musketeers, which I think is an underrated Mickey Donald Goofy film.
All for one and two for tea.
And then, of course, finished up with, at the time, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse was still, today it's still,
I think it's like number one
huge.
On Disney Plus every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
So, of course, there was that. So I practiced those lines. I remember I called some family and friends, and I was doing it for them to get everyone else's opinion. Like, oh yeah, you're good at this. You should do it. My parents were the only ones who were skeptical. They were kind of like, My mom said, don't you do a better Donald Duck? And I was like, Mom, I've never done Donald's voice before. I don't know what you're talking about. My dad was also kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know. Can you do that? And I was like, well, here, let me play you guys the sampling, and then I'll do mine, and then you tell me what you think. But of course, I did the old switcheroo, and I did my impressions first, and then I was like, okay, so now what? They're like, okay, let me hear yours. I was like, that was mine. And I remember my dad being like, oh yeah, you are kind of good at that. So anyway, I submitted the audition. Some time went by. Of course, I'm obsessed over it at this point. It's like, what's happening? Who else knows about this? Have they cast anybody? I'm, going into my job and I'm Googling every day, like voice of Mickey Mouse to try and see what's happening. Eventually, a couple weeks go by and I get this call from an 818 area code.
Hello?
And they say, oh, we've got your audition. We're holding callback auditions. We loved what you did. We'd love for you to be a part of the callback auditions. And then I remember they said, so what part of California are you in? Are you in the LA area or are you up at Pixar?
Yeah.
And then that's when I had to drop the bomb. Like, I'm nowhere near either. I'm actually in Kansas City. And of course the Disney nerd again, and he wanted to be like, but I'm like next to Walt's home, and like, this is great. And
I'm Walt adjacent.
I'm Walt adjacent. Come on.
Yeah.
And they, I remember them just kind of saying, I could hear some hesitancy on the other end of the phone, and they're like, you know what, we're gonna have to talk, have some conversations, we'll get back to you. And I thought,
I didn't know.
I've blown it.
Wow, okay.
I should have just said I was in LA.
Yeah.
But they did follow up. I think it was like the next day, they sent me an email.
Were you like crazy nervous between those two phone calls?
Oh, that's excruciatingly painful to
it's like
have
you have
to
an
wait.
audition, maybe.
Yeah,
Like,
it was like, to get that, we really liked what you did,
Yeah.
and then wait a second. So they got back to me and they said, we've talked about it and we still would love for you to be a part of this process if you'd like, but obviously you'll have to fly yourself out. And I was like, done. Booked that ticket, flew myself out to LA. First time ever going to a recording studio, stepping into a sound booth. And of course, here I am imagining driving up to the big gates, the Walt Disney Studio, and seeing the Seven Dwarfs holding up the Team Disney building. And it's like a record scratch. Nope, you're going to this office building that's down the street, this high rise, which is where Disney Character Voices was at the time.
Hey, I'm on Dumbo. While I'm here, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Audible. Audible has a wide range of audiobooks, including a lot of awesome Disney books, like The Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Iger, former Disney CEO, Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull, who's the Pixar president, and many more. You can listen to it all anywhere, anytime. In fact, I'm listening to an audiobook as I say this. Whatever audiobook or podcast you're looking for, Audible's got it. Thousands of different titles in every genre, from comedy to suspense to science fiction to fitness to biographies to technology to art to education, as well as many fictional and historical Disney books. So if you like Disney history like I do, I assume you do by watching this video, go to audible.com/Jace to get a free 30-day trial.
Anyway, went up, met the whole team that works there, and they were so nice. I remember Rick said to me, he's like, now, Wayne is the official voice of Mickey, we're looking for an understudy now, so this is by no means casting the voice of Mickey. Went in, stepped into the studio, the sound engineer asked me my preferences on how I wanted to record, which meant nothing to me. I was like, however you think I should be recorded, sounds great. And then the audition progressed. It was cold reads, copy I'd never seen before, and just seeing how I performed Mickey.
Hot dog! What an honor!
Right. Could I actually do it, or was the phone message a fluke? Could I read? Could I take directions? Could I act? One of those experiences that just goes by in a flash, right? Like, I'm sure it was 45 minutes. It felt like 45 seconds to me. And I left. They said, thank you very much. Don't call us, we'll call you. And I walked out and flew back to Kansas City.
Wow.
And then it was another waiting game, which at this point was just getting real old, this waiting game. But I waited, and it was another couple of months. Again, still kind of obsessed with finding out who's talking about it. Have they found anybody?
Well, some sad news to tell you about this morning. A death in the Disney family. Wayne Allwine passed away on Monday.
He was the voice of Mickey Mouse.
I knew in that moment when I saw that headline, like everything had changed.
I'm Mickey 3. I'm the third person to do the voice, which implies to me there will be a Mickey 4. So somewhere out there's got to be somebody who will eventually fill my shoes as I filled Jimmy's. Start practicing.
You never know. Nope, you never do.
A couple more weeks went by and I did get a call. and they said, obviously you've heard the news, and you know this is a small division of Disney, so we are a family. Like they work very close with one another, and especially this team, they'd been with Wayne through so much of it.
How many years had he been doing it for?
32 years
Wow,
at that point, yeah. So yeah, it was a tremendous loss for everybody, and I sensed that from the team. It was obvious, but it was so inspiring to see, and I learned so much in the midst of that process to see how they handled it, because there was a tremendous respect for Wayne as a person and as a performer, and realizing and celebrating what he brought to this character, but then also an acknowledgement and an awareness that Mickey is so much more than any one person who contributes to his legacy. And so the responsibility was there to ensure that Mickey kept on bringing smiles to people's faces. With that came the need to cast a new person to lend their voice to him. So they called me and they explained that they wanted to start trying me out on some stuff.
Okay.
It was by no means a job offer. So I was commuting, that quick commute from Kansas City to LA every couple of weeks, easy. And you know, we started with some simple stuff. Like there was I think the very first thing I did was a cavalcade for Animal Kingdom at the end of the day, which was something Wayne had recorded already, but they had a few line tweaks, and so I had to come in and kind of replace what he did and add a few additional lines. And that was great, because even though I wasn't working side by side with Wayne in person, I really was working and learning alongside of him in terms of the stuff he had done already. And when you're doing a project like that, you're listening to Wayne and you're hearing how he did it, and then you're, you know, kind of play and repeat, right?
Like training ground to perfect
it really
right?
was, yeah. And you know, like I have no shame in admitting I was a newbie. Again, like I didn't have a ton of experience performing, and so I was learning on the fly.
When did you know, like, okay, I got it, I'm in?
I remember I came in for a Disney on Ice show, which was a 2-day record, because there was a lot of content. And it was on the second day, and I think this was my second project. So I think I'd done one trip, I was on my second trip, finished day one, and there wasn't any fanfare. There was no big like, sign this contract and now you are. No, they said, hey, we'd like to talk to you in the green room. And I went in there and they sat me down and they said, we love what you're doing. We'd love for you to be the guy to be the next voice of Mickey Mouse. Now that comes with some responsibilities, right? You need to be out in LA. So number one, that was the biggest thing.
Sure.
Which, I mean, there's no hesitation on my part. Of course, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about longevity of this, or, you know, was it feasible to make a living off of doing one character? You know, I had to quit my job, I had to sell my home, I had to move out back to LA. But I didn't hesitate to just say, of course, I would love to.
Congratulations to you, Mickey.
Gee, thanks. Well, so long. I'll be seeing you.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Bret, here in Disneyland. This has been amazing.
This has been amazing. Thanks for having me on.
Do you mind saying bye to everyone at home as Mickey?
Oh my gosh, of course.
So long, everybody. See you real soon.